As Barbara said, my name is Michael Martys, and I'm from the National Library Service for the Blind and Physically Handicapped, Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. I'm here to join you in recognizing and celebrating the Kentucky Talking Book Library's 50th anniversary. Director Karen Kenninger, Chief of the Network, Richard Smith, Steve Prine, Vicki Collins, and the rest of us at NLS send congratulations for reaching this milestone. As Barbara said, I am presently the NLS Senior Advisor for Planning and Innovation. Prior to that, I was the NLS Automation Officer, which is kind of a government title for the IT guy. And I was responsible for supporting all the information technology needs at NLS. When I was asked to represent NLS at your anniversary event, I was very delighted, and that's because I'm very fond of the Kentucky Talking Book Library. I started work at NLS in 2006 after working for the previous 15 years in higher education. And I am still considered a youngster by most of my colleagues at NLS, even though I've been there for a number of years. When I first started at NLS, I, like many others, began to learn about the network of cooperating libraries that support NLS patrons. I soon learned that the Kentucky Talking Book Library, led by Barbara Penegor, was one of the most respected libraries in our network. They had a real patron focus. They were always seeking to improve the patron experience and were willing to try new ideas to achieve that. In short, the Kentucky Library was known around NLS as a very well-run library. But being involved with information technology, I was soon able to see other areas of excellence. The Kentucky Library was a library we counted on to help us with the development and implementation of new technologies. As you heard earlier, they were the first network library to pilot reads and probably the first successful implementation. They were the first network library to pilot test web reads, first network library to pilot test duplication on demand, and one of the first with a library Facebook page and Twitter account. I discovered that the Kentucky Library under Barbara's leadership was a great partner at NLS. They were a library that embraced change, that improved patron services, and we found them a willing early adopter, tester, and a great sounding board. They provided the best feedback. It was practical, patron-focused, and well thought out, the kind of feedback you only get from a partner that has many years of experience. In short, they are our go-to library for many technical things that we needed to test and get feedback on. The reason I say this is that in the 88 years of NLS's program's existence, there has been 4 generations of technology. We are now engaging in the development of the next generation of technology. The first generation was paper braille. That's what NLS started with in 1931. The next 3 were focused on audio. We started with records, cassettes, and digital cartridges. We are now starting the development of the next generation of technology, the 4th audio and the 5th overall, which will focus on internet delivery of our audio materials and the use of digital braille e-readers. After several years of studying and planning, NLS is beginning the process of developing the infrastructure and associated player technology to achieve this vision. We are beginning the process of developing, acquiring, and deploying braille e-readers for all of our patrons, and to develop the internet services that will be needed to deliver the vast majority of our materials directly from the internet. We will be using commercial cloud hosting environments such as Google and Amazon to host these services, and we will be delivering a cellular data network. So as Barbara mentioned earlier, where we were talking about sending people cartridges, the future vision is that you will have instant access to every book at any time. This will take several years to complete. We are now experimenting with the use of voice control of both playing our books and finding materials. We actually have a prototype player that you can use your voice to control the playback of a book. And we are confident, and we, the collective we, NLS, along with our libraries, will develop a voice-controlled system that will work well for our patrons, and we see that as our ultimate long-term interface of our player. We are beginning to investigate the use of smartphone devices as the core technical element of our new player, and we are expecting to build an infrastructure that will support an increase in patrons as we expand our eligibility requirements to include other organic forms of print disability, such as dyslexia. We're expecting right now to build an infrastructure that will be roughly 15 times the size of BARD and will be infinitely scalable for however large the patron base grows. It is important to reiterate the important role of network libraries, regional libraries in particular, in this new environment. While the logistics of collection, management, and shipping and receiving will diminish over time, other activities such as patron outreach will become much more important. And we will need partners to work with us as we develop and deploy these new technologies. I hope, that we will be able to work with Kentucky, much as we have in the past, to work on these new ideas, and that you will continue the tradition of being one of the best partners NLS has ever had. I feel with your help and support, we will develop a great next generation system, and I can talk forever when it comes to technology and the new things we're building. It's very exciting. So I'm going to finish with 2 thoughts. One of my colleagues, Steve Prine, is the de facto historian for NLS, And I asked Steve if he had a short remembrance that I can use for the anniversary. And for those of you that know Steve Prine, of course he did. And so here it is. When the Kentucky Regional Library was established, Ed Lewis from NLS went to Frankfurt to assist with the setup of the library. He worked with Francis Coleman, who led the library at that time. Through a work program, inmates from a local correctional facility were used to assemble the shelving and shelve the books. One afternoon, Ed and Francis were walking down the hallway observing two inmates constructing shelving. One inmate asked Ed the time of the day. Before Ed could reply, the other inmate said to him, "What do you care? You're serving life." That's a Steve Prine story. And so finally, to finalize my comments, I'd like to present this plaque from NLS to the Library of Kentucky Talking Book and to Barbara Penagore in recognition of your 50th anniversary.
Thank you, Mike.